Ambassador Jindaeho walked slowly through the massive halls of the Valerian Council building. The walls were made of some kind of blue crystal that seemed to glow from within. Everything here was built to make visitors feel small and unimportant. The ceiling was so high that Jin could barely see it. Giant statues of Valerian warriors lined the walls, their 6 arms holding different weapons. Jin had been a soldier once. He knew what fear looked like, and he knew when someone was trying to scare him. The Valerians wanted him afraid before he even spoke to their council. But Jin had seen real war. He had fought in the border conflicts when humanity first met hostile aliens. A few big statues would not shake him. Behind Jin walked Na Hyejin, his chief engineer. She carried a small device that looked like a tablet, but Jin knew it was much more than that. I was recording everything. The building's structure, the energy readings from the walls, even the way the Valerians moved. Information was power, and humans had learned to gather every bit they could. The great doors to the council chamber opened with a deep humming sound. Inside, 12 Valerian council members sat on floating platforms arranged in a circle. At the center sat High Commander Vextius, the most powerful Valerian in this part of the galaxy. His purple skin had the deep color that showed his high rank, and his 6 arms moved constantly as he worked on multiple data displays at once. "The human ambassador has arrived," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "State your business quickly. The council has important matters to discuss." Jin stepped forward and placed his hands behind his back in a respectful pose. "Honored council members, I come to speak for the 12 human colonies. We ask for the right to govern ourselves." Several council members made sounds that Jin had learned were Valerian laughter. High Commander Vextius leaned forward on his platform, his main arms folded across his chest. "Govern yourselves?" Vextius said. His voice was deep and rumbling. "You humans have been in space for what, 50 of your years? We Valerians have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Your people still use metal bullets in your weapons. You build ships with welded metal plates. And you think you are ready for self-rule? We think we deserve the same rights as any intelligent species," Jin replied calmly. This brought more laughter from the council. Vextius gestured with 2 of his arms, and the air above them filled with images. Massive Valerian warships appeared, their hulls gleaming and their weapons glowing with energy. The ships were beautiful and terrible, each one larger than any human city. "Behold the 7th Fleet," Vextius said. 300 ships, each one capable of destroying your entire homeworld. We have 40 such fleets. Our smallest patrol ship carries more firepower than your largest warship." The images changed to show Valerian factories in space, each one the size of a small moon. Thousands of ships moved in and out of these facilities like insects around a hive. "Our shipyards can build a dreadnought in 10 days. Vextius continued. "How long does it take your people to build one ship?" 2 years, 3? Jin knew the answer was closer to 5 years for humanity's largest ships, but he said nothing. "We know everything about your capabilities, human," Vextius said. "Your colonies produce food and raw materials. Your ships are slow and poorly armed. Your technology is primitive. You exist because we allow it. You prosper because we permit it. And yet," Jin said quietly, "we ask for freedom." The laughter stopped. Vextius's 6 eyes all focused on Jin. "Freedom?" Vextius repeated. "You speak of freedom when you should speak of gratitude. We protect your worlds from the Scaran pirates. We keep the trade routes open. We maintain order in this galaxy. In return, we ask only for reasonable tribute from your colonies." "Tribute that grows larger every year," Jin pointed out. "Resources that we need for the greater good of the galaxy," Vextius replied. "Your human lives are short. You see only the small picture. We see the grand design that keeps billions of beings safe and fed." Na Hyejin shifted slightly behind Jin. Her device was picking up energy signatures from the Valerian technology around them. The readings were exactly what the human scientists had predicted, but it was good to have confirmation. "What if we refuse to pay the increased tribute?" Jin asked. The council chamber became very quiet. Vextius slowly stood up on his floating platform. "Then you will learn why 3,000 years of Valerian rule has brought peace to this galaxy," he said. "Your 12 colonies exist at our pleasure. Your trade ships fly because we protect the routes. Your people live because we choose not to see them as a threat." Another gesture brought new images, a planet's surface burning under energy beams from space, cities turning to glass under orbital bombardment, Millions of beings fleeing in terror as Valerian ships darkened the sky. This was the fate of the Corvan Republic when they thought they could stand against us. Vextius said, "They had ships. They had weapons. They had courage. None of it mattered." Jin studied the images carefully. The Valerian ships in the recording were using standard energy weapons and conventional tactics. Overwhelming force applied directly to the target. It was effective, but it was also predictable. "I see," Jin said. "So our choice is submission or destruction." "Your choice is to remain useful or to become irrelevant," Vextius corrected. "Useful species prosper under our protection. Irrelevant species are forgotten. And if humans choose to be neither useful nor irrelevant?" For the first time, Vextius looked genuinely curious rather than amused or angry. "What else is there?" he asked. Jin smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. "You have ruled for 3,000 years, High Commander. In all that time, have you ever encountered a species that could surprise you?" "Surprise us?" Vextius repeated. "No species in this galaxy possesses technology we do not understand. No species commands resources we cannot match. No species has secrets we cannot uncover." "Then perhaps," Jin said, "it is time you met your first." The council chamber fell silent again. Vextius stared at Jin for a long moment. "Your petition for self-governance is denied," he said finally. "Furthermore, tribute from human colonies will double, effective immediately. You have 30 days to comply." Jin nodded slowly. "I will carry your message to my people." "See that you do," Vextius said. "And human ambassador, do not mistake our patience for weakness. We have destroyed species far more advanced than yours." Jin turned to leave, Na following close behind. As they walked back through the crystal halls, Na leaned close to him. "Did you get what you needed?" she whispered. "Everything and more," Jin replied quietly. "They showed us their ships, their weapons, their tactics. They told us exactly how they think, and they have no idea what humans are truly capable of." Behind them, the great doors of the council chamber closed with a sound like thunder. But Jin was no longer afraid of the storm. Soon the Valerians would learn what real thunder sounded like. Jin Deho sat in the emergency meeting room deep under the surface of Earth. The room had no windows and thick metal walls. Even if Valerian spies somehow reached Earth, they would never detect this place. Around the table sat the most important humans in the galaxy. But most beings had never heard their names. That was exactly how they wanted it. "The Valerians rejected our petition," Jin reported. "They also doubled our tribute payments. We have 30 days. Director Han Woo-suk nodded grimly. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. For 20 years he had carried the weight of humanity's greatest secret. Today that secret would finally be revealed to the galaxy. "Then it's time," Han said simply. "Operation Mirage begins now." Admiral Tae Jun-ho leaned forward. He was younger than the others, but his eyes held the cold intelligence of a true military mind. "Are we certain the technology is ready?" Dr. Yu So-min answered from the far end of the table. She was the youngest person in the room, barely 30 years old, but she understood mathematics that made other scientists feel dizzy just thinking about them. "We've run successful tests for 2 years, Yu said. The quantum fabrication system works perfectly. We can create a fully armed cruiser in 12 minutes using nothing but ambient energy and space dust." "Explain it again," Admiral Tae said. "In simple terms. I need to understand exactly what we're asking the crews to do." You activated a holographic display above the table. The image showed what looked like empty space with tiny particles floating around. "Everything in the universe is made of the same basic pieces," she began. "Atoms, energy, fundamental particles. The Valerians build ships by gathering materials, shaping them and putting them together. This takes months or years." The display changed to show a complex pattern of lights and energy. "We found a different way. We can take the pattern of a ship, every bolt, every wire, every piece of armor, and compress it into pure information. This information is stored in quantum space where normal physics don't apply." Director Han watched the display carefully. Even after all these years, the technology still amazed him. "When we want to build a ship," Yu continued, "we release the pattern into normal space. The pattern grabs energy and matter from whatever is nearby and rebuilds itself according to the stored design. To anyone watching, it looks like the ship appears from nothing. But where does the matter come from?" Admiral Tae asked. "Everywhere," Yu replied. "Space dust, radiation, even the energy from nearby stars. The quantum field can convert energy into matter and matter into energy. As long as there's enough ambient material in an area, we can fabricate anything we've stored in the system. Jin had heard this explanation before, but it still seemed like magic to him. How many ship designs do we have stored? Han smiled for the first time in the meeting. Show them, you. The holographic display exploded with images. Hundreds of different ships appeared in the air above the table. Cruisers, destroyers, fighters, support vessels, and ships with designs that looked completely alien. We have templates for 843 different vessels, Yu said proudly. Everything from single-person fighters to heavy battleships. We've been designing and testing for 50 years. 50 years? Jin asked, surprised. The program started after we found the derelict ship in the Tau Ceti system, Han explained. The aliens who built it were gone, but their technology remained. It took us decades to understand what we had discovered. Admiral Tay studied the ship designs carefully. These don't look like human ships. They're not, Han admitted. We learned that human minds work differently from any other species we've encountered. Our brains can visualize and maintain quantum patterns that other aliens can't even perceive. What they see as chaos, we see as possibility. Yu nodded enthusiastically. The Valerians think in straight lines. They see a problem and apply force directly. Humans think in spirals and curves. We see around corners. The quantum fabrication process requires the operator to hold incredibly complex mathematical patterns in their mind. Han continued. The pattern has to be perfect or the ship will appear with flaws or not appear at all. So far, only humans can do this. Why? Jin asked. Imagination, Yu said simply. Other species are more logical than humans. They're better at following rules and thinking in predictable ways. But humans can imagine things that don't exist and then make them real. That's exactly what quantum fabrication requires. Admiral Tay was beginning to smile. So while the Valerians were building bigger and bigger fleets, we were learning to create fleets from nothing. Not nothing, Han corrected. But close enough that it doesn't matter. We can fabricate a full battle group anywhere in space where there's sufficient ambient energy. That includes near stars and asteroid fields or even close to enemy ships. Jin felt a cold excitement building in his chest. How close to enemy ships? Close enough to touch them, Yu said. The quantum field doesn't distinguish between our matter and their matter. We can literally fabricate ships inside enemy formations. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. The Valerians base their power on conventional shipbuilding, Han said quietly. They have massive yards that take years to build each vessel. They think in terms of resources, time, and industrial capacity. They cannot imagine technology that makes all of that irrelevant. How many fabrication points do we have? Admiral Tay asked. 47 active stations throughout human space, Han replied. Each one can fabricate multiple ships simultaneously. In a full emergency, we can deploy over 3,000 vessels in less than an hour. Jin whistled softly. The Valerians think our entire fleet has maybe 200 ships. Let them think that, Han said. The moment they discover what we can really do, they'll either try to steal the technology or destroy us to prevent anyone else from getting it. So what's the plan? Admiral Tay asked. Han activated another display. This one showed the human colonies and the positions of Valerian fleets. We let them make the first move, he said. The Valerians are predictable. They'll start with a demonstration of force to make an example. When they do, we'll show them that humans can be very unpredictable. Which colony will they hit first? Jin asked. New Sol, Admiral Tay said immediately. It's our largest agricultural world, and the closest to Valerian space. They'll want to hurt our food production to force compliance. Yu was already working on her tablet. I can have fabrication beacons in the New Sol system within a week. Do it, Han ordered. But remember, once we reveal this technology, there's no going back. The galaxy will never be the same. Good, Jin said firmly. It's time the galaxy learned that humans are not just another species to be conquered. We're the species that makes the impossible possible. Admiral Tay stood up and straightened his uniform. I'll alert the Shadow Fleet commanders. How long before we're fully operational? The fabrication network is already in place, Han replied. We've been preparing for this moment for decades. Every human colony has hidden beacons. Every major trade route has emergency fabrication points. We're ready. Then may the ancestors help the Valerians, Jin said quietly. They're about to learn what happens when you threaten humanity's freedom. Director Han looked around the table at the faces of his colleagues. For 50 years, they had worked in secret, preparing for this day. The weight of human survival had rested on their shoulders, and they had carried it without complaint. Operation Mirage is now active, he announced. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do when they stop playing by other people's rules. The meeting ended, but the real work was just beginning. Across human space, hidden beacons began to activate. In quantum storage facilities, ship patterns hummed with potential energy. And in the minds of human operators, impossible mathematics began to take shape. The Valerians thought they ruled the galaxy through superior force. They were about to discover that the most dangerous force in the universe was human creativity, set free. 3 months after the failed negotiations, Min-Kite watched the Valerian ships descend from the sky above New Sol. From his position in the Colonial Defense Center, he could see the massive alien vessels through the reinforced windows. They moved slowly like metal mountains floating through the air, their hulls gleaming in the light of New Sol's sun. How many ships? Min asked his aide. 15 heavy cruisers and 30 support vessels, came the reply. Commander Zelthak's tax collection fleet. Min nodded grimly. He had been expecting this visit since Ambassador Jin's message arrived from Earth. The Valerians were predictable in their cruelty. They always made examples of those who resisted, and New Sol was humanity's most valuable agricultural world. Have they made their demands yet? Min asked. Yes, sir. Double tribute payments, immediate compliance, and the arrest of what they call seditious colonial leaders. That includes you, sir. Min almost smiled. The Valerians still thought like conquerors from the old days, when overwhelming force was enough to break any resistance. They had no idea what humans had been preparing. Send the standard response, Min ordered. Tell them we need time to consider their demands. How much time should I request? 1 hour should be enough. His aide looked confused. Sir, 1 hour isn't nearly enough time to organize tribute payments or arrange arrests. No, Min agreed. But it's exactly enough time for something else. Deep beneath the colonial capital, engineer A. Yunji was already at work. Her facility looked like an ordinary power station to any casual observer. But the equipment humming in the hidden levels below was unlike anything else in the galaxy. Quantum field generators, matter converters, and pattern storage systems filled rooms that officially didn't exist. AE had been preparing for this day since the fabrication beacon was installed 6 months ago. She knew every control, every safety protocol, and every technical specification. More importantly, she had the rare human ability to hold complex quantum patterns in her mind, without losing focus. Beacon activation in 30 minutes, she announced into her communication device. Derui. Response came immediately from orbit, where a small observation satellite tracked the Valerian fleet. Confirmed. Target pattern selected. Beginning ambient matter analysis. Above New Sol's atmosphere, space looked empty to Valerian sensors. But human technology was reading something very different. The area around the planet was rich with cosmic dust, solar radiation, and the energy fields of the Valerian ships themselves. Perfect raw materials for quantum fabrication. Commander Zelthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Sovereign Will. He was a career military officer who had overseen dozens of these compliance operations. Humans were no different from any other species. Show them enough firepower and they would submit. Have the colonists responded to our demands? He asked. They request 1 hour to consider, his aide reported. Zelthak's mandibles clicked in annoyance. They think delay will help them? Begin orbital bombardment of the outer settlements. Show them what defiance costs. Energy beams lanced down from the Valerian ships, turning colonial farms into smoking craters. The bombardment was precisely controlled. Enough to cause fear and economic damage, but not enough to destroy the colony's productive capacity. Zelthak had done this many times before. Min-Kite watched the destruction from his command center and activated his emergency communicator. Tiger Station, this is Colonial Command. Execute thunder pattern immediately. 20 kilometers below the surface, A. Yunji heard the code phrase she had been waiting for. Her fingers moved across the control panel with practiced precision, activating systems that had taken 50 years to develop and perfect. Pattern matrices loaded, she announced. Quantum field generators at full power. Beginning fabrication sequence. The first sign that something was wrong came from the Valerian sensor operators. Commander, we're detecting massive energy fluctuations in the orbital zone, one of them reported. The readings don't match any known technology. Zelthak frowned. Fluctuations from where? That's the problem, sir. The energy appears to be coming from empty space. Our sensors show nothing there, but the energy readings are off the scale. Impossible. Run a full diagnostic on the sensor array. Already done, sir. The sensors are functioning normally. The energy is real, but we can't identify the source. Far below, A was deep in a trance-like state that other species would have found impossible to achieve. In her mind, she held the complete quantum patterns for 12 heavy cruisers, every bolt, every circuit, every molecule arranged in perfect mathematical harmony. The patterns were so complex that they existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. Matter conversion at 60%, she announced. Pattern stability holding. Beginning materialization sequence. Space around New Sol began to shimmer. The quantum fields reached out like invisible hands, gathering cosmic dust and solar radiation, converting energy into matter and matter into the precise forms dictated by the stored patterns. To human observers, it looked like the universe itself was dreaming ships into existence. Commander! The Valerian sensor operator's voice was rising in panic. Multiple contacts appearing in Grid 77 Alpha. No, wait, they're not appearing, they're forming. The ships are building themselves out of nothing. Zeltak rushed to the sensor display and stared in disbelief. Where moments before there had been empty space, massive human warships were taking shape. First, skeletal frameworks appeared like ghostly outlines. Then hull plating materialized around the frames. Weapon systems solidified into existence. Engine cores sparked to life. How many ships? Zeltak demanded. 12 heavy cruisers, sir. The design is unlike anything in our databases. They're larger than our ships, and the energy signatures suggest weapons technology we've never encountered. That's impossible. Our intelligence reports show the humans have less than 200 ships in their entire fleet. Where did these come from? Unknown, sir. They appear to have been fabricated directly from space matter. The energy readings suggest matter conversion on a massive scale. Zelthak's training took over. All ships, battle formation. Prepare to engage the human vessels. But the human ships were already moving. The lead cruiser, designated Sol's Wrath, opened fire with weapons that made Valerian technology look primitive. Quantum disruptors that phased through energy shields as if they didn't exist. Exotic matter torpedoes that ignored conventional armor. Energy beams that seemed to bend space itself. The first Valerian ship to die was the glorious Victory. A quantum torpedo passed through its shields and detonated inside the hull, converting the ship's own armor into explosive energy. The vessel simply vanished in a burst of light that lasted less than a second. Shields are useless, reported the weapons officer. Their weapons are passing through our defenses. Zelthak watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed by an enemy that should not have existed. Human ships moved with impossible speed and fired weapons that defied every rule of space combat he had learned in 40 years of military service. Retreat, he ordered. All ships emergency jump to hyperspace. But the human ships had surrounded the Valerian fleet with devastating efficiency. Every escape route was covered by vessels that had appeared from nothing and fought like demons. The valiant Conquest tried to run and was caught by 3 human cruisers. Energy beams sliced through its hull like hot knives through paper. The Iron Discipline managed to get its jump drive online, only to have a human ship appear directly in front of it and fire at point-blank range. In less than 2 hours, Commander Zeltak's proud tax collection fleet was reduced to burning wreckage. Only one ship survived, Zeltak's own flagship, which the humans allowed to escape. As the Sovereign Will limped away from New Sol, its commander sent a desperate message to Valerian Command. This is Commander Zeltak to High Command. Tax collection fleet has been destroyed. Repeat, fleet destroyed. Human defensive capabilities far beyond intelligence estimates. They possess technology that creates ships from empty space. Recommend immediate strategic reassessment. On the surface of New Sol, Minkite allowed himself a small smile as he watched the last Valerian ship disappear into hyperspace. Around the planet, 12 human cruisers maintained patrol patterns, their hulls gleaming with fresh fabrication energy. Thank you. Tiger Station, he said into his communicator. Deep underground, A-Yun-G was exhausted but triumphant. Holding quantum patterns for 12 ships simultaneously had pushed her abilities to their limit. But the fabrication had been perfect. Every vessel was exactly as designed, fully armed and ready for combat. Colonial Command, this is Tiger Station, she replied. All patterns deployed successfully. The ships are yours. Well done, Min said. Now the real work begins. The Valerians know we exist, but they still don't understand what we can do. Admiral Ri Sang-hoon, commander of the newly fabricated New Seoul Defense Fleet, opened communication channels to all 12 ships. This is Admiral Ri to all vessels, he announced. Today we showed the Valerians that humans are not helpless prey. Tomorrow we show them that we are the hunters. Stay alert, stay ready, and remember, we fight not just for New Seoul, but for the freedom of every human in the galaxy. The quantum-fabricated fleet acknowledged his orders and settled into defensive positions. High Commander Vextius stared at the report for the third time, his 6 arms trembling with rage and disbelief. The data made no sense. Commander Zeltak's tax collection fleet had been one of the most powerful forces in the sector. 45 ships with enough firepower to level continents. Now it was space debris floating around a primitive human colony. Explain this to me again, Vextius demanded, his voice echoing through the war room of Valerian High Command. Intelligence Officer Korth shifted nervously before the massive screens that displayed the battle data. According to Commander Zeltak's surviving records, the humans deployed 12 heavy cruisers that appeared to materialize from empty space. The ships used unknown weapon technologies that bypassed our standard defenses. Ships don't materialize from nothing, Vextius roared, slamming one of his fists against the command table. Our scouts monitor every human shipyard. We know their construction capacity. They cannot build 12 cruisers without us detecting it. The energy readings suggest otherwise, High Commander, Korth replied carefully. The quantum signatures indicate matter conversion on a massive scale. Somehow the humans have developed technology that creates vessels from ambient space materials. Supreme Admiral Korthex, commander of the Valerian War Fleet, stepped forward. He was older than Vextius with the dark purple skin that marked a lifetime of military service. If this report is accurate, we face a threat unlike anything in recorded history. An enemy that can create fleets anywhere, anytime, makes traditional military strategy obsolete. Then the report must be wrong, Vextius insisted. Humans are primitive. They use metal bullets and welded armor plates. They don't possess advanced quantum technology. With respect, High Commander, Korthex said, we have underestimated species before. The cost of being wrong about human capabilities could be the fall of the Empire. Light years away from the Valerian capital, intelligence operative Bo Hae-young crouched in the maintenance shaft of a Valerian listening post. Her mission was simple: monitor Valerian communications and report any major military movements to Earth. What she was hearing made her blood run cold. Through her translation device, she listened to High Command's response to the New Seoul incident. The Valerians were not just angry, they were terrified. And terrified empires did dangerous things. Assemble Battle Group Omega, she heard Vextius order. 200 ships, including the Planet Cracker's World's End and Final Judgment. If the humans have some new technology, we will demonstrate that it means nothing against overwhelming force. Bo's hands shook as she recorded the transmission. 200 ships was enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. The Planet Crackers were weapons designed to shatter worlds, leaving nothing but asteroid fields. What is our target? Supreme Admiral Korthex asked. Earth itself, Vextius replied. We will make an example that every species in the galaxy will remember. The humans will surrender their fabrication technology or watch their homeworld burn. Bo had heard enough. She activated her emergency transmitter and sent a coded burst toward human space. The message was simple but urgent. Thunderclouds gathering. Storm heading home. 200 lightning bolts. World breakers included. On Earth. The message reached Admiral Ri Sang-hoon as he reviewed. Deployment reports from the New Seoul Defense Fleet. The coded warning made him pause his work and immediately contact Director Han Woo-seok. They're coming for Earth. Ri reported during the emergency conference call. Our intelligence operative confirms 200 Valerian ships heading for Sol system, including Planet Crackers. Expected response, Han replied calmly. The Valerians always escalate when they feel threatened. How long until they arrive? 3 weeks, maybe 4. They'll want to bring their most powerful ships, which means they're pulling forces from across the sector. Dr. Yoo So-min joined the call from her laboratory. Our fabrication network around Sol is fully operational. We can deploy defensive fleets anywhere in the system within minutes. How many ships can we fabricate? Ri asked. In emergency mode? Over 500 vessels simultaneously. The energy output from our sun provides almost unlimited power for the quantum conversion process. Ree whistled softly. The Valerians think they're bringing overwhelming force. They have no idea what overwhelming really means. Don't underestimate them, Han warned. Planet crackers are serious weapons. If they get close enough to Earth, they could destroy our world before we can stop them. Then we don't let them get close, Ree said. We meet them at the edge of the system and show them what human fabrication technology can really do. Meanwhile, in the Valerian capital, Supreme Admiral Cortex was having doubts about the Earth assault plan. He had studied the battle records from New Sol hundreds of times, and the implications worried him. High Commander, he said during a private meeting with Vextius, I request permission to modify the attack plan. What modifications? Vextius asked suspiciously. If the humans can indeed fabricate ships from space matter, then approaching their homeworld puts us at a severe disadvantage. They will have unlimited raw materials and energy from their star. We should force them to fight away from their fabrication facilities. Vextius's eyes narrowed. You think they can't fabricate ships anywhere they want? Unknown, sir. But if their technology requires special equipment or trained operators, then Earth will be their strongest defensive position. Irrelevant, Vextius decided. We attack Earth directly and end this rebellion before it spreads. 200 ships with planet crackers will overwhelm any defense they can mount. Cortex nodded reluctantly, but privately he began making his own preparations. If the human technology was as dangerous as he suspected, Battlegroup Omega might need every advantage it could get. As the massive Valerian fleet assembled, human intelligence operatives throughout the galaxy reported the movements. The scale of the response surprised even the most pessimistic human planners. The Valerians were committing nearly a quarter of their total military force to crush humanity. They're scared, Admiral Ree observed during the final planning meeting before the Valerian arrival. Really truly scared. They've never encountered technology they couldn't understand or counter. Good, Director Han replied. Fear makes enemies predictable. They'll come straight at Earth with everything they have, expecting to win through pure firepower. And when they arrive? Ree asked. Han smiled grimly. They'll discover that humans don't just think outside the box. We think outside the entire concept of boxes. Dr. Yu activated the holographic display showing the Sol system. Dozens of small indicators marked hidden fabrication stations positioned throughout the area. We have beacons at every major gravitational point, she explained. Near Jupiter in the asteroid belt close to the Sun, even in the outer planets' orbital paths. The moment the Valerians drop out of hyperspace, we can surround them with fabricated fleets. How long to deploy a full battle group? Ree asked. 12 minutes for a standard formation. 6 minutes for emergency deployment with reduced weapon systems. The Valerians will face enemies that appear faster than they can react. Admiral Tae Jun-ho, who had remained quiet during most of the meeting, finally spoke up. What about their planet crackers? Those weapons can destroy Earth from long range. That's why we don't let them get into range, Han replied. We hit them the moment they arrive before they can organize or assess the situation. By the time they understand what's happening, it will be too late. And if some ships escape? Tae asked. Then they carry word back to the Valerian Empire about what happens when you threaten humanity's survival, Han said. Sometimes the best victory is the one that prevents the next war. As Battlegroup Omega prepared to depart for Earth, Supreme Admiral Cortex made one final review of the intelligence reports. The humans had shown new technology at New Sol, but the scale was limited. Only 12 ships. Even if they could fabricate similar numbers at Earth, 200 Valerian vessels would still overwhelm them. But something about the quantum signatures bothered him. The energy readings suggested capabilities far beyond what the humans had demonstrated. Either they were hiding their true strength, or the fabrication technology was even more advanced than anyone realized. Final status report, he requested. All ships ready for departure, his aide reported. Destination Sol system. Estimated arrival 14 days. Then we depart now, Cortex decided. May the ancestors guide us to victory. As the massive Valerian fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading toward humanity's homeworld, neither side fully understood what was about to happen. The Valerians believed they were bringing enough force to end human resistance forever. The humans believed they were about to demonstrate why threatening Earth was the worst mistake any species could make. Both sides were about to discover that when unstoppable force meets impossible technology, The result is beyond anyone's ability to predict. The only certainty was that the galaxy would never be the same after the Battle of Sol. Supreme Admiral Cortex stood on the bridge of his flagship Eternal Dominion as Battle Group Omega dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Through the massive viewports, he could see the small yellow star that warmed humanity's homeworld. 200 Valerian ships hung in space around him, their hulls bristling with enough weapons to burn entire planets. "Initial sensor sweep complete," reported his aide. "We detect standard human defensive positions around Earth. Approximately 30 ships in orbital patrol patterns. Several space stations and satellite networks." Cortex nodded. The numbers matched intelligence estimates. Humans simply didn't have the industrial capacity to field large fleets. Whatever technology they had used at New Sol, they clearly couldn't deploy it on a massive scale. "Defensive positions look normal, sir," the sensor operator continued. "Wait, I'm detecting some unusual energy readings from various points in the system." "What kind of readings?" "Quantum fluctuations, sir. Very faint, but distributed throughout the solar system. The pattern doesn't match any known technology." Cortex felt a familiar chill of unease. "Location of the fluctuations?" "Everywhere, sir. Near the gas giants in the asteroid belt, close to the star, even in the outer system. It's as if the entire solar system is charged with some kind of energy." On Earth, Admiral Wu Jin-A watched the Valerian fleet through the sensors of her command ship Earth's Defiance. The vessel didn't exist yet, it was still stored as a quantum pattern in the fabrication network, but in 5 minutes it would be, leading the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. "Valerian. Deployment confirmed," she announced to the quantum fabrication stations hidden throughout the Sol system. 200 ships, including planet crackers, beginning Thunder pattern deployment. At 17 different locations across the solar system, human engineers began the most complex fabrication sequence ever attempted. Su-hyun Woo, stationed near Jupiter, held the patterns for 40 heavy cruisers in his mind while quantum generators drew energy from the gas giant's massive electromagnetic field. Near the asteroid belt, engineer Jun Min-soo was attempting something that had never been tried before: fabricating ships directly inside enemy formations, using the energy signatures of the Valerian vessels themselves. Pattern matrices loaded across all stations. Dr. Yu So-min reported from Earth's primary fabrication facility. "Quantum field generators at maximum power. All operators report ready status." "Execute Thunder pattern," Admiral Wu ordered. What happened next would be remembered as the moment the galaxy changed forever. Space throughout the Sol system began to shimmer. Near Jupiter, 40 human cruisers started materializing from the gas giant's energy fields. In the asteroid belt, destroyer squadrons formed from concentrated mineral deposits. Close to the sun, massive battleships drew power from solar radiation itself. But the most devastating surprise came from Jun Min-soo's experimental fabrication technique. Using the Valerian's own energy emissions as raw material, human ships began appearing directly within the enemy formation. "Contact," screamed the Valerian sensor operator. "Multiple ships materializing inside our formation." "No, not just ships, entire fleets." Supreme Admiral Cortex watched in horror as the space around his flagship erupted with enemy vessels. Human cruisers appeared between his ships, behind his lines, even directly alongside his heaviest warships. The orderly Valerian battle formation became chaos as vessels tried to avoid colliding with enemies that materialized without warning. "How many ships?" Cortex demanded. "Unknown, sir. Contacts appearing faster than sensors can track." "Estimate." "Estimate over 400 vessels and still materializing." 400? "That's impossible." "Humans don't have 400 ships." "They do now, sir." The human fleet that emerged from quantum space was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships with hulls that seemed to bend light, weapons that fired concentrated quantum energy, and engines that left no conventional exhaust trail. They moved with impossible coordination, as if guided by a single mind that could see the entire battlefield at once. Admiral Wu Jin-A's flagship, Earth's Defiance, materialized at the center of the Valerian formation, its quantum disruptors already charging. Around her, hundreds of human vessels appeared in perfect attack positions, surrounding the confused Valerian fleet. "All ships, commence pattern Delta assault," she ordered. The Battle of Sol began with devastating efficiency. Human quantum weapons passed through Valerian shields as if they were made of paper. Exotic matter torpedoes ignored conventional armor and detonated inside enemy hulls. Energy beams that could bend space itself carved through ships that had been considered invincible. The Valerian planet Cracker World's End tried to target Earth, only to find 3 human battleships appearing directly between its weapons and the planet. Before it could adjust its aim, quantum disruptors tore through its hull and secondary explosions reduced the massive vessel to burning fragments. Planet Cracker Final Judgment destroyed, reported a Valerian officer. Enemy ships appeared inside our defensive perimeter. Supreme Admiral Cortex realized he was witnessing the end of an era. For 3,000 years, the Valerian Empire had ruled through superior firepower and industrial capacity, but humans had found a way to make both advantages meaningless. All ships emergency retreat, he ordered. Jump to hyperspace immediately. But engineer John Minsu had anticipated this response. As Valerian ships powered up their jump drives, he fabricated small human vessels directly adjacent to their engine systems. The interference from quantum fields disrupted hyperspace calculations, trapping the Valerian fleet in normal space. Jump drives are malfunctioning, reported the navigation officer. Something is interfering with our quantum calculations. Then we fight, Cortex said grimly. All ships engage the enemy. Show them that Valerian warriors do not die easily. The remaining Valerian ships turned to fight with desperate courage. Their crews had served the Empire loyally for generations, and they would not surrender without a battle. But bravery could not overcome physics, and human quantum technology made traditional space combat obsolete. Su Hyun-woo's fabrication group near Jupiter deployed a new innovation, ships that could phase in and out of normal space during combat. Valerian weapons fired at targets that suddenly became incorporeal, while human vessels materialized just long enough to fire devastating volleys before disappearing again. The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human ships appeared everywhere the Valerians tried to retreat, anticipated every tactical move, and countered every desperate strategy. It was like fighting an enemy that could read minds and be everywhere at once. When the last Valerian ship finally surrendered, Supreme Admiral Cortex found himself alone on the bridge of his damaged flagship. Around him, the wreckage of Battlegroup Omega drifted like metal tombstones marking the death of Valerian supremacy. Admiral, his communications officer said quietly, the human fleet is requesting our surrender. Cortex looked at the tactical display one final time. Over 400 human ships surrounded his position, their weapons trained on his vessel but not firing. The humans were giving him a chance to surrender with honor. Open communication channels, he ordered. Admiral Wu Jinei's face appeared on the screen. She was younger than Cortex had expected, with calm eyes that showed no hatred for her defeated enemy. Supreme Admiral Cortex, she said respectfully, your fleet fought with great courage. Will you accept terms of surrender? What terms do you offer? Cortex asked. Safe passage for all surviving crew members. Medical treatment for the wounded. Transport back to Valerian space for those who wish to return home. Cortex was surprised by the generosity. And in return? Tell your people what you have seen here today, Admiral Wu replied. Tell them that humans seek peace, not conquest, but also tell them that threatening human freedom will always have consequences. You want me to carry a message of fear? No, Admiral Wu said firmly. A message of understanding. The galaxy is large enough for many species to live in freedom. The age of empires ruling through force is ending. The age of cooperation and mutual respect can begin. Cortex considered her words carefully. Around his ship, human vessels waited patiently for his response. They could have destroyed his flagship easily, but they chose to offer mercy instead. I accept your terms, he said finally, and I will carry your message to the Empire. 3 days later, the surviving Valerian ships departed Sol system under human escort. As they jumped to hyperspace, Supreme Admiral Cortex sent his final report to Valerian High Command. This is Supreme Admiral Cortex to High Command. Battlegroup Omega has been defeated. Human military capabilities far exceed all previous estimates. They possess technology that makes conventional warfare obsolete. Recommend immediate cessation of hostile actions and opening of diplomatic negotiations. He paused before adding the most important part of his message. The humans demonstrated that they could have destroyed us completely, but chose mercy instead. This suggests they seek peace rather than domination. I strongly advise that we give serious consideration to their proposals for mutual cooperation. On Earth, Ambassador Jin De-ho prepared for another journey to the Valerian Council. This time he would not be requesting anything. This time